Welcome boys and girls, Costin here with a very simple campaign guide as Balthasar Gelt, the Supreme Patriarch of the Colleges of Magic of the Empire. Now, in his campaign, the campaign is defined by a choice. You can either stay in Cafe or you can return to the Empire. But you kind of want to do both, and it is possible to do both, staying in Cafe with certain forces and keeping the Throne of Elemental Winds for the benefits it provides, especially the Temple of Elemental Winds, and then also going back to the Empire. But bear in mind, this is a choice. You can choose to just stay in Cafe, you can choose to just go to the Empire. How you decide to play your campaign, that's your own choice. Disclaimer, this is just what I'm looking to provide people. A simple path towards managing the AI's own behavior against itself in order to achieve an outcome that would benefit you immensely. So when you start campaign as Gelt, you take the Temple of Elemental Winds and you get it at tier 2. You have a choice of that. And then you get both the Gunsmith and the Shrine of Sigmar. You get all of these heroes, Witch Hunter, Engineer, Warrior Priest. The specifics of what you research aren't necessarily important, but I would recommend researching Spirits of the Empire and Clergy of Sigmar. That's because you get 2 Warrior Priests, you get Spears, which is Halberds. I mean, you could go for other things as well. You could get a Siege Tank for the research. Keep in mind, economy, you do have a lot of money, and a Siege Tank would not necessarily be the most important thing. But for disclaimer purposes, I am doing this based on the recordings I did, or 2 campaigns I did. One is with mods, it's not the one I loaded, because the only save I have there is on turn 12. And then this one. This is without mods. What are the mods you'd see here? It's Toggle Flag of War, increased auto resolve points, and Quest Battle auto resolve. So nothing too crazy, too fancy. Otherwise, both campaigns are on Legendary very hard. Though keep in mind the randomization factor in a campaign. Funnily enough, hilariously enough, the campaign that actually ended up easier, one turn 17, one turn 13, is this one. The one where I played without mods. The only battle I had to fight in that entire campaign manually was actually the quest battle, the first quest battle that Gelt has, which is the one you get at the Cloak of Mountain Metal. Everything else was just auto-resolvable anyway. So you do then take Fu Hong. You go your way, you take Fu Hong. Make sure you get the canonic buildings. Make sure you keep a rebellion check. You take Fu Hong, and you loot and occupy it. Very important, looting and occupying not the first settlement, but the second settlement you take, and the third, and getting more arcane estates here. Getting the village of the Tiger Man, and then you will be in a position where you can force these guys into a peace agreement. How far you want to go towards that depends on you, but remember, it also depends on randomization. Because that's the first step. You go to war with these guys, you trigger a rebellion right there in Fu Hong, you wait for that rebellion, then you sell the settlement back to them for a peace agreement so they leave you alone. And they will, because they're also at war with Xiaoming. Dependent on AI randomization factor, you may have an easier or harder campaign. And then you turn your ire against Ghorst. So right here, I'm just going to load. I'm not going to do any edits. I am going to load, I think, a very particular save right here. Alright, remove the loading screen right there because, simply put, the loading screen tends to cause issues with recording since I use NVIDIA software to record. But in this case, Gelt, I think, ended up having a decent amount of faction Ghorst, I think, ended up having a decent amount of faction potential. Sorry about that, just confuse the names. But the point is, when you're dealing with Ghorst, it is the battles you want to fight, unless the auto-resolve is a very, very clear cut. But it's also very easy. Like, you look at an army like this versus these kind of armies versus anything that Ghorst would provide, that would be easy. I mean, hell, I can even auto-resolve this without mods over here. So it's like, yeah, this is a clean save, no mods enabled. I believe there are no mods. Keep in mind my things are a bit wonky here. But no mods enabled at this point. If there were any auto-resolve mods, and this is legendary. So it's very easy to deal with Gelt. But you don't, as Gelt with Ghorst. Yeah, Ghorst, Gelt. Names are hard, gentlemen. Names are fucking hard, what can I say? But yeah, make sure you do it properly, and you do it carefully, and you deal with Ghorst as Gelt in such a way that he is completely obliterated in this campaign. But then you're gonna have a third issue. So Ghorst is the second way. You get the rebellion, you make a peace. That's the first thing. You recruit units, you march west, you get some ogre mercenaries if need be. You march west, you deal with Ghorst. Second issue, dealing with Ghorst. Third issue is Greasus, and also just waiting for Xiao Ming to finally beat the Burning Wind Nomads. That's part of it, like, because the way it works with the Empire, a lot of Gelt's battles, quest battles, granting vision with various factions in the Empire. And also, he can get a good relationship with Xiao Ming, which means that the cafe and caravans which end up in the Empire will also grant you vision with Imperial factions, and you can confederate them from a distance. So all of this is going on. So you deal with the Burning Wind Nomads, but not complete annihilation, unless you want to, of course. Then you deal with with Greasus. And let me just talk a bit about Greasus, because Greasus is almost always going to declare war on Ghorst, and Ghorst is almost always going to declare war on Greasus. That happens, regardless of factional potential. So when you fight Ghorst, Greasus is either gonna be ahead of you, or he's gonna try and snatch a win from you, and you can't let them. Because if you ignore Greasus, you're gonna end up exactly in a situation like this, where you have gone to war against him, and he's just been Greasus. Very, very Greasus. So he's taken things he shouldn't have taken in this situation, because he's damn Greasus. That's the way he operates. So what you do, and I showed this in my live stream very well, is you go to war, declare war on him, you take his stuff, you take it back, and then you get a peace agreement. Now, the specifics of how things work gonna differ, but keep in mind that one of the main powers that Gelt has is the Colleges of Magic. So if you do end up having to fight Ghorst manually, you'll end up in a significant advantageous position where you can use certain things that will make the entire life very, very damn easy, like pumping both Mass Concealment and Celestial Scrying at the same time against in the same army. So that means you can easily and certainly ambush Greasus. And even if you have a situation like this where you might think, oh, I'm gonna take a lot of damage fighting that battle, maybe I should do it manually. Well, remember, you have an ambush, boys and girls, and you have the capability of doing so, but in this case those units don't matter. Just demonstrative purposes, by the way, if you're wondering about that. And then we pull back right here, we're replenished, we take another settlement next turn. But yeah, I would have probably fought those two battles manually. Maybe I'll resolve Ghorst, or maybe fought all battles manually. It's always a choice with regards to that. And so at this point, we aren't at the point where we can get a peace agreement with Greece, nor do we want to. We actually want to take a settlement from him. We have a lot of money, we have regiments renown, we have various things available to us. So dealing with Greasus, getting Noblar country is step 3 while still recruiting things, while keeping the economic engine of your empire working. Different things you can use, of course. Over here, by the way, I'm still trying to trigger a rebellion. Different things, different options. Okay, so that's step 3. Let's talk about step 4. Returning to the actual... No, not returning to Empire, dealing with Nurgle. Because you deal with Nurgle very simply, but there's also something else, which is to actually finally deal with the Burning Wind Nomads in a proper way. Now, step 4 and 5 are kind of ideally done at roughly the same time. Well, not necessarily ideally, because you end up in a situation like this where Kugaf is about to take one settlement back. But all the same, the idea of this state of affairs is you create a situation where Kugaf is about to be wiped out, or very, very close to it. But also so are the Burning Wind Nomads. And that's the point where you can return to the Empire with a lot of armies. And even, look, even with Kugaf's vast military power, it's not relevant to fight every single battle. The timing, that depends on changing conditions, like when you're returning to the Empire. Because in this case, what's not being shown off screen is how a lot of different things are moving right now in different places. Over here. And how these pieces moving has such an impact. Now, if you're ever in a position where you need money, and in this case, it's really just the damn problem that the Kala is taking her damn sweet time besieging a settlement that she should have taken a while ago. So just go over here. If you ever need money, you can use trade agreements or declarations of war against different factions in order to get it. You can fight certain battles in order to achieve it. You can make different alliances if you're short on cash. It depends on how fast or how slow you want to go. In this case, it's going to be freaking slow because, well, different things are happening right here in the match. You can't predict this turn unless you're willing to be a robot. And I'm no robot. Well, I see that someone's trying to be very, very damn clever right there. The Kala has dealt with that, but there's still an army, I think, right there in the river. In order for the Burning Wind Nomads to be defeated, you do need all of their armies need to be wiped out. So, yeah, that is the frustration, but in this case, it's actually to a significant benefit that does happen like that, because it also means that you get a bit more time to sort some of this stuff out on your own terms. And also, you know, deal with various other things as well, like fricking Grimgor is, well, a problem right here, right? For instance. So, how do you deal with Grimgor? Well, you set up a lovely little ambush for the brute. And that ambush contains a lot of different things. And you make sure you get the Grey Wizard in that army as well, at the very least, because the Grey Wizards have that ability with Mass Concealment of giving you a perfect ambush success chance in an army right here. I mean, you could always just blow the hell out of him as well. We can use Transmutation. We can use Magma Storm. Right here. Like, if you need to fight the battle manually, as Gelt is like, okay, I guess I break up the nuclear weapons and go to war and just win the hell out of it. But I'd rather not. I mean, you don't want me to do so, but I will if you force me to. So, let's not do that. Grimgor, in this case, he's definitely going to attack that situation. Because it is the... Before I end this turn, something very important to mention. Cannot control every outcome. You have to, however, assume responsibility for the decisions that you make as a player, just as I assume responsibility for the videos that I do. No one can force you to play a campaign in a certain specific way. All you can do, like over there, is create conditions where certain things are done. It would have been better if Grimgor had attacked me as opposed to Greasus, because now I am forced to make the decision. It's like, do I stay here or do I go back to the Empire at this point? It's obviously ideal if I do wipe out Grimgor before that, but that would require a manual battle. That's not really a problem. By the way, it's like I could win that specific battle, but it's obviously inconvenient in every sense of the word to do so. But that's the important thing, the most important lesson that I can give you as a content creator to you guys that are watching this video. You cannot control everything. Things do change. All you can do is watch, learn, and apply what you learn in your own way. Now, everyone plays like me. I don't expect anyone to play like me. We all have our own ways of playing games. Some go faster, some go slower. Some lose a lot of battles, some don't lose a lot of battles, some win every battle that counts. Some people like to play battles every single time. Some, like me, don't much care for the battles because most of the battles are determined before they even happen. Though, to be fair, Grimgor is Grimgor. Keep that in mind, even for me. Whenever I go against Grimgor, That's one of the things. Now, what do you do once you're back in the Empire? You take Nuln, you beat out Elspeth, or we can just go against Vlad, or in this case, Festus. That's a decision. And that's kind of the crucial point. It's just important to get back to the Empire if you want to follow this path of getting back there in a good way. Mistakes will happen. Don't try and replicate it turn by turn because it won't work. But learn the lessons and apply it to your own campaigns. Costin, signing out.